Here it is, the best part of your day. We've been looking forward to it. You've been looking forward to it. It is time. Welcome to Inspired Sports, your place for clean sports talk with real inspiration. I'm Alex Pratt alongside the Scott Jakeway.
Alex, I'm always excited to jump on the podcast, but I have to say, just kind of moving straight into the first segment, I was this was probably the first Monday night I was like, let's get on the podcast because woo,
The fourth quarter
that was
starts
a
ticking down, and
snoozer.
we start talking about starting firing up the pod, right?
We've had a lot of them where we're like, hey, we may have to delay things because it's going
Yeah,
into
we've had
overtime or this.
overtimes, double headers. Tonight was not one that anyone needed to stay up for. It was rough, but we both have our Vikings jerseys hanging. Not a Carson
Yeah,
Wentz,
like
not a JJ McCarthy. You got old Brett Favre, and I've got Kirk Cousins. And I'm telling you right now, all of Minnesota is begging for anyone to come back. They're like, Kirk Cousins, could we get him, please? Could we get Sam Darnold back? They're like, we'll even take old Brett Favre at this point. I think they would take anyone over their current QB situation, which leads me to the first question of did that just happen? Scotty Jakeway, did the Vikings just give up 2 MVP candidates for one injury-prone question mark? Meaning Sam
mm.
Darnold and Daniel Jones were on the roster last year, and they look great.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten about good old Daniel Jones being on the Vikings
And
because
that's the first time in
he
weeks you've called him Daniel Jones, but properly used because you're referencing when he was in Minnesota, not Indiana.
yeah, and he did not take a snap. I don't think he played one down.
No,
I
I don't think you
mean,
did.
no, he was very much forgotten. And this it goes all the way back. And I'm planning the podcast tonight. I've realized there was a theme, at least in my notes, that it all goes down, it all breaks down to the right
Don't
quarterback
say
and
it.
the right
You've
system.
got to stop
And
saying it. If you know what, just wear a T-shirt.
it's
Just wear a T-shirt that says the right quarterback, the right system, and then the pod. We won't have to say
it's
it on the pod
it is
anymore.
it is true. Listen, look at Sam Darnold in Seattle and Daniel Jones in Indiana or Indianapolis. I mean, they are proving the point. And Carson Wentz, I mean, he's had highlights. He's not some, third-rate quarterback. He's a decent quarterback. And JJ McCarthy, I mean, at least in college, looked like an amazing
Yeah,
fit
an
for the
amazing
NFL.
fit when
And
they wouldn't let him throw the ball in the second half of a game, of an
yeah.
important game. I mean, I don't know. I think the JJ McCarthy hype got out of control. Maybe we buried the lead, Scott. We didn't even mention the Chargers destroyed the Vikings tonight
Destroyed.
by a score of 37-10, I believe. I should know that. That's part of my job.
37-10.
37-10.
37-10.
Thank you. Scotty Jakeway
Yeah.
coming in. Right there, coming in clutch. 37-10. The Chargers destroy the Vikings tonight. And so the only noteworthy thought I had from the game, Scott, is that Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, who were Vikings last year, are now currently 11-3 with their new teams. That's
And
crazy.
yeah. And the Vikings are sitting with the old and fragile. I mean, like their quarterbacks sound like it's a daytime soap opera more than they are an NFL team. They're looking hot. I mean, I know a couple weeks ago we were talking like, hey, could Carson Wentz be the resurgence of the Vikings? Could he really? And it has not looked
Pick your
anything more.
poison. I guess either option's not that good.
No, I mean, it has looked atrocious, and they are looking. I really thought they were a playoff team, and I don't know. Not at this rate.
Definitely not
Not
at
at
this
this rate.
rate. And it's
No.
we're clearly talking more on the Vikings side than the Chargers side, which I mean the Chargers looked resurgent tonight. They have it's been a rough
Yeah.
couple of weeks for the Chargers, and they seem to have suffered every possible injury short of quarterback on the team. And I'm watching tonight, and I'm like, whoa. Who is this kid running the ball? They've got their third string running back out there, and Kamani Vidal, and he's looking great. I mean, 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins, he had 18 rushes for 124 yards. Tonight, 23 rushes for 117 and a touchdown. And the Vikings as a team had 34 rushing yards. The
Oh,
entire team, 34
ouch.
rushing yards, and this kid puts up 117. So I don't know if they found a diamond in the rough. It might be the bright spot for the Chargers coming out of this game. But my predominant thought here is, how did you let Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones out of the building when you didn't have any answers about what J.J. McCarthy really was?
Management and scouts really do matter, and I think it's not every team I mean, they may have players, they may have, coaches, but I tell you, when it comes to the scouting crew and the management, upper management making some of these decisions, these teams are wildly different, and unfortunately, you let those guys go, and they get a chip on their shoulder and get put into systems that fit them, and they're both thriving, so, yeah.
One last thought before I take you to the next did that just happen. But as I'm sitting here and
Alright.
this season is unfolding, I don't think any of us really, I mean, it's certainly on the table. It was possible. But honestly, the decisions the Vikings have made have put them in a position to go from first to worst. They were 14
Oh,
and 3 last year, and they're now looking like they are going to finish fourth in the NFC North. So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
some big decisions that were made, and right now they are not panning out. So sorry to any of our listeners who are Vikings fans. We tried to prop you up with the old Brett Favre and the Kirk Cousins jerseys, which, by the way,
Yeah.
sometime I got to tell you how I ended up with a Kirk Cousins jersey. It's a wild story. We'll save it for another time. But yes, that is odd that I own a Kirk Cousins jersey, but it's true. Scotty Jakeway, here comes the next. Did that just happen? Did John
Okay.
Harbaugh just take his kids' toys away? The head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, is on the hook here for the ping pong table being taken out of the locker room, the basketball hoop being torn down in the locker room, and
Oh,
all
man.
video games have been removed. That is a true story. So, Scotty Jakeway, did John Harbaugh take his kids' toys away?
Listen, they did get taken away, but it was not John Harbaugh that did it. It came out, I think it was
Yep.
today, came out that it wasn't. He came out and made a statement that said, "Hold on, time out. They did get taken away, but it wasn't me. Don't make me the bad guy. It was some veteran players on the team that came in and tried to shake things up in the locker room, which I applaud them. For me, it's one of those things that if you're 1 and 5, you may not be deserving of cornhole and video games in the locker room. First of all, I think it's very interesting to me. These guys are getting paid hundreds of thousands, some of them tens of millions of dollars, and they've got basketball hoops and video games. I,
Don't
I,
they
I
have all
mean,
that stuff at their house?
that was the point I was gonna make. Like, if you want to do that, go do it at home. I feel like the locker room should be kind of a sacred spot where we come in, we watch film, we run our drills, we get the plan together, and we go home. Like, why are we distracting ourselves with? I mean, maybe it's
Tech
just because
tech
I'm 40.
companies tech companies and football teams apparently are the only people that get to play ping pong at work.
No, so here's the thing. I used to work at a company called GoDaddy, and that company had all of those things. I mean,
See?
I have
Tech
worked in
company,
many
there we
companies
go.
and a tech company, and there was ping pong tables, there was a rock wall, there was a slide that went from the second floor to the first floor, and all it was a distraction. None of it was a productive enhancement to my job. I didn't do a better job because I slid down to the lunchroom, from the second
You
floor.
stop it
I,
right
I
now.
feel
You
like
were 10% happier every single day you went down that slide. You were at least 10% happier.
okay, maybe a little bit happier, but when you're getting paid this much money, do that in your own time at your house. For me, it's maybe I'm just old school. That is not intended. That's not something that should be in the locker room for me. I feel like you come in, you do what you need to do to get the job done, to prepare for each week, each game, and go home. Like, why are we hanging out playing video games? I mean, Kyler Murray,
Oh, man.
I mean, is another one. Like, these guys that
Why
are
you
like,
gotta
they're
drag
like,
Kyler
hey,
Murray into this? The story about him
because
playing video games is from 3 years ago. You were
but
so
here's the thing.
brutal on Kyler Murray.
My thing is it's a trend that these guys are like, "Hey, why is he struggling on the field?" Well, reports come out that he wasn't studying the playbook, and oh, by the way, he was playing Call of Duty with his buddies in the locker room.
During
Like,
halftime.
it's just a distraction. Like, get all that stuff out of
Okay.
there. Good job, Ravens.
We agree. We don't have
Yeah.
to disagree on that, but I think there's a more
No.
important question to ask, which is who did it? John Harbaugh didn't say who. I wanna know. I wanna know if injured
Yeah.
Lamar
Name
I wanna know
names.
if injured Lamar walked in that room and ripped the basketball goal down and was like, "You guys can't score a touchdown. You can't score a basket either." Like, he just starts taking stuff. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine Derrick Henry coming through and just both arms, just picking up that ping pong table and carrying it out? And, like,
Just
who's
chucking it.
stopping Derrick Henry? Who's seriously?
Someone throws the cornhole bag, and he just comes over and slaps it
Just
down.
rejects it. I wanna know who the veterans are. So I was
Yeah.
thinking, I was like, is it Lamar? Is it DeAndre Hopkins? Is it Derrick Henry? Maybe Kyle Van Noy on the defensive. I don't know who it was. John Harbaugh
John, name
wouldn't say.
names.
Yeah, John, name some names. And then did you
Yep.
did you see he even goes on to say, he goes, "They even took the pinball machine that I gave them for Christmas 2 years ago." And I'm like, "John, why are you acting like you're not in control? You are a Super Bowl
Right.
winning coach, and I think he's like the second longest tenured coach in the NFL right now
In
behind Mike
Baltimore or in
Tomlin."
the NFL, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's
Yeah.
like, dude, you are in full control of what's going on in there, and you're over there hiding behind a couple of veterans. I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but I'm like, don't
Right.
act like you didn't know, or they didn't give you a wink and a nod on the way out the door when you heard.
Right.
Have you ever tried to move a ping pong table? I don't know what doors
Yeah.
they were taking it out of, but I hope they thought it through, because a couple times in my life, I've tried to get a ping pong table through a door that it wasn't gonna work.
No, they're very difficult to move,
Unless you're
but
Derrick Henry. He
yeah.
probably just folded it. He folded it in half twice.
Oh, we are off the rails.
Off
That's
the
hilarious.
rails.
That's
Here we go. Let's get back on track here, and I will give you the
alright.
third "Did that just happen?" Scotty Jakeway,
Okay.
did Aaron Rodgers' nose just grow a little bit longer? Because Aaron Rodgers
Mm.
is playing the Green Bay Packers this weekend, and Aaron Rodgers claims this is not a revenge game.
I don't think so. I think that he has moved on. I feel like he said it himself. He put in 18 years in Green Bay. It was some of the best time of his life. They did some great things in Green Bay, and they've moved on. I mean, his successor came in, and Jordan Love. He passed the mantle off to Jordan Love, and he went on. And I mean, here's the thing: he went to the Jets and lasted about point 0.4 seconds. So I feel like if it was a straight from Green Bay to the Steelers, maybe it was a revenge game. Maybe it's like, hey, let me show them that I still got it. But I feel like that momentary blip in New York is one of those things that kind of breaks it up and says, "Nah, this is just you're doing good things. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. I'm happy to see Green Bay succeeding, and I'm over here with Pittsburgh. We're crushing it in our division." Like I think it's one of those things that they're both just moved on. They say, "Hey, we enjoyed our time together, but bygones be bygones, and we're moving on." So no, I don't think. I think he's being honest.
Scotty Jakeway, I can't believe you're falling for this. That's just wild. Of every you're turning me into Alex conspiracy theory Pratt now, because I've got to go ahead and do the heavy lifting here, because I can't believe you don't see right through this. Aaron Rodgers appears on media outlets and press conferences and talk shows like 12 times a week. He doesn't say or do anything by accident. Okay. And I want to point out
Okay.
something very specific that he said. He said, "I don't have any animosity toward the organization." And that is correct. He does not hold any animosity against the organization that is publicly owned by it's the only, team in the league that doesn't have an official, like, team owner. It's community owned, and so, yeah,
Yep.
he doesn't have any animosity toward that, or the trainers there that liked him, or the guys working in the parking lot, or the concession stand. Yeah, there's a lot of people there, as he said, a lot of people there he still talks to and he still knows and he has a good relationship with. But there's one person that he did not have a good relationship with. How quickly we forget, Scotty Jakeway. Matt
Yep.
LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers did not get along. It was not pretty. It did not end well. As a matter of fact, there was one game in 2022. They were playing the Dallas Cowboys, and he comes off of the field to the sideline, and he is just screaming at Matt LaFleur. Just and they probably were some not nice words. There were some accusations
Yeah.
made there and some things said, right? So And I just want to point out that after that game, he was asked by a reporter, they said, "What had you so upset?" And his response was, "Just every single play call." That's a direct quote. When you say your problem with your head coach is just every single play call, how is that not personal? Do we have quickly forgotten how badly and how quickly things ended there, and then he goes
Yeah.
and he does his darkness retreat, and they can't get a hold of him, and they're like, "What is this guy doing? Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? You know what? We're taking the decision away from him. We're done with him. We're trading him to the Jets." He got traded. I don't buy this for 1 minute. He's trying to say the right thing because he knows if I call this a revenge game and I lose, I look bad. So he's like, there's a
Mm,
good chance we might lose this game. So I'm not going to call it that. I've risen above those things, and trust me, I get it. Having to play for 2 years for the Jets might just make you appreciate the Green Bay Packers a whole lot more. But I don't think he's telling the truth here. His nose is growing longer by the second.
I don't know. In my mind, I think probably you've won me over a little bit in the sense that he's playing it safe in the sense that if Green Bay comes in and wins, then he's not looking like the fool by calling it a revenge game and possibly losing. So he's playing the safe bet, but at the same time, I think there's some merit to be set, to be thought about that they both just moved on to different paths, and it is what it is. But
I do have
um,
one good stat for you before we get out
okay,
from
hit
here.
me.
If
Yeah.
Rodgers does happen to win against the Packers, he will become
Okay.
only the 5th quarterback in NFL history to have defeated all 32 teams.
Oh,
So,
I like that
I'm
stat.
just wondering if you wanna try and guess any of them. Do you got any guesses who the other 4 guys are?
Tom Brady.
Yes, correct.
Um,
This is completely unrehearsed, by the way. Scott Jakeway had no idea I was gonna
no,
do this to him. I'm completely putting him on the spot.
no, Tom Brady's the only one I can think of. Hit me with the other 3.
You should look, over your right shoulder.
Okay, Brett Favre.
That's why I had to ask you. I
Okay.
wanted to see if you came up with
Yep,
Favre with him hanging
yep.
behind you. Brett Favre,
Yeah.
same era. The other 2 great quarterbacks kind of from the same era there would be Peyton Manning and the
Ah,
Drew Brees. So the only guys, all of them who eventually obviously switched teams from their original team, and then ended up beating them with their second team. So Patrick
what a
Mahomes, by
what
the
a
way,
what
will
a
Patrick
5.
Mahomes will never join that group because Patrick Mahomes will never, ever play for a different team. He will retire a Chief. That is the only possible scenario.
Somehow, I get flack for somehow getting Kyler Murray and Indiana Jones in every podcast, and yet somehow the Chiefs are not on any part of our lineup tonight, and yet somehow Patrick Mahomes' name gets dropped. It's incredible.
I'm just giving the
You know,
people what they want, okay?
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of giving the people what they want, let's move on to the next segment because it's a fan
That's
favorite. It's
right.
one that we always get a lot of feedback on, but it's a segment we like to call "Don't Be That Guy."
Don't be that guy.
I always love it. So I'm gonna start off this one. Jets owner, I don't know if you had a chance to read this, but the Jets owner
Mm.
comes in and takes a direct shot at their quarterback, Justin Fields, and says some really it, I mean, some of the things he had to say in my mind are like, wow, like we're not talking about just someone, just a random player on the team, some second string quarterback. We're talking your starting quarterback that you signed to 2 years and $40 million. And he came out and said, you can't have a good running game if you don't have a passing game. And if we could just complete a pass, that would actually look really great. I mean, and my thought is this: don't be that guy. Like, owners are so delusional. They are so far removed from the day-to-day hustle of being an NFL player in today's in today's game, minus the pinball machines and the basketball hoops. These guys put in a lot of work and they take a lot of hits. And Justin Fields may not be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but you saw enough in him to go out and pay some pretty significant money to bring him in. And if there's anyone that should be scratching their heads going, hey, maybe it's not them, maybe it's us, it's the New York Jets. The Jets have they have a history of players coming in and completely being just awful, and then they move on. Speaking of
The
Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers,
Rodgers.
a the Aaron Rodgers, and just completely excelling. You at some point, you have to begin to look internal and say, "Hey, it's maybe not the quarterback's fault. Maybe there's 10 other
I'm
guys on
sorry,
the field. Maybe we
you're
should."
expecting
Yeah.
billionaires to have a whole lot of introspection? They I think you might be
No.
asking for something that is very unlikely. Certainly possible, possible for
Certainly
anyone to
possible.
be that well aware of themselves, but I don't think Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, spends a lot of time wondering, what he could do better. I think he's spent a lot of time thinking about what Justin Fields can do better.
I agree. They probably are not built for that. But I mean, here's the thing. They're 0-7, and they're now
Oof.
talking about making a quarterback change to they're not talking about making a quarterback change to an upcoming star, like, hey, this is in the works. We're gonna let Justin Fields come in and play a couple years, mentor the guy, and then he'll take over. We're talking about Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
No, no. I mean,
Hey,
if Justin
hey,
Fields can't get it
you know
done.
what Tyrod Taylor would do very well? He would appear in those awesome backup commercials, backup quarterback commercials. Good old Tyrod Taylor and Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum and Colt McCoy. I love those commercials.
He would be a great fit for that. And so for them to think that, hey, we're going to just completely slander our starting
Yeah,
quarterback
right?
and then put in Tyrod Taylor and expect him to do anything different, I mean, that is just wishful thinking to say the very, very
So,
least.
so to
So,
build out the
no.
situation just a little bit, he was asked this question. It's not like he held a press conference. He was asked this question, and he was asked if he had lost confidence in his new head coach, Aaron Glenn, and he says, "No, I have confidence in Aaron Glenn." And then he goes into he starts to take these couple of shots at Justin Fields. And so, but to make those statements, even though he says he has confidence in Aaron Glenn, if you have real confidence in your head coach, you would not be uttering a word about his starting quarterback. You would not be uttering a word about a
Exactly.
significant player on his team because
Exactly.
I just can't imagine a world in which, the if you respect your coach, the owner of the Chiefs, Clark Hunt, is not going to make comments about the quarterback. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is great, but out of respect for Andy Reid, he's not going to make a comment like that.
Right.
And so, what you
Right.
have is you have an owner who has a first-time head coach. He's 0-7. What do I care if I offend him? I'm going to publicly back him because he was my choice. But who cares if I offend him, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do that
Yeah.
to the Bill Belichick's of the world and the Andy Reids of the world and the Jim Harbaughs of the world. Like, you're just not going to do that. And so, yeah, the Jets are a mess. Shocker.
Yeah. So Jets, all I have to say is don't be that
Don't be
guy.
that guy, which leads me to my don't be that guy, Scotty Jakeway. And listen,
Okay, hit
I
me with it.
know as a Chiefs fan, because I'm about to have a don't be that guy for a division rival, it's gonna seem like maybe I'm picking on him, but I am not because he is picking on someone else. Head coach of the Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, has been throwing some serious shade at his former quarterback, Russell Wilson. So to set this up, in case you didn't hear about it, Sean Payton he had the big comeback against the Giants, that historic comeback which we covered last week on the pod, and actually I think it was Monday. But he has that, and then he gets asked some questions, and then he's talking about Jackson Dart. And he says, man, that kid's got some juice. They found a spark with him. And then he mentions, I'm close friends with the Maras and the Tisch family, the Mara family being the owners of the New York Giants. And we were talking a while back, and I had mentioned I really hoped they would not make that change to that kid, which is how he referred to Jackson Dart, until long after our game. In other
Ouch.
words, we were hoping to face Russell Wilson because we think he is, as my friend Scott Jakeway says, straight trash. And so, and then, and so, you know what? He says that, and that's kind of Sean Payton. You know what I mean? Sean
Yep.
Payton is not
Yeah.
afraid to get in and mix it up. This is the same guy who said he's now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And in his first season as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, he made a comment about the previous head coach of the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett. And he said, what Nathaniel Hackett did here last year was one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history. He's just blasting the guy that had his job before him. So we know Sean Payton is not afraid to take a shot on somebody. So you know what? You could do a don't be that guy right there, but that's not my problem here. If that's who Sean Payton is and he wants to take these shots and just come at people, that's fine. After he made this comment, Russell Wilson goes onto X and posts a statement and kind of jabs back at Sean Payton. And I won't get into all of it because it's kind of got a back history with the Saints and bounty hunting and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. Russell Wilson takes a shot back at Sean Payton. Then Sean Payton comes out today. Here, you mentioned daytime soap operas. That's literally what we have right here, right now in this conversation. So Russell Wilson comes out, takes his shot, and Sean Payton says, and I quote, in no way, shape, or form did I mean to criticize Russell Wilson.
Oh.
Sean Payton,
Beep,
Sean
beep,
Payton.
beep.
Don't be that guy. Listen, man, if you're going to go at
Backing
somebody and
up.
you're going to go ahead and just throw shade at Russell Wilson and criticize him because you had to pay him $1 billion to be not very good as your quarterback in Denver, then own it, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't then come out and go, I couldn't possibly have meant anything in no way, shape, or form. Mentioning when I said I wish you hadn't changed quarterbacks because I wanted to face the other. What? Come on, Sean Payton. If you're going to be the guy that just kind of pops off and says it, then own it.
Exactly. That the noise I was making just a moment ago is reminiscent of a truck backing up because that is literally what he did. Sean Payton came out standing 10 toes down, like I'm gonna make this statement, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Ooh, maybe I caught a little flag," and so he's like, that's not what I meant. I mean, what did you mean if you weren't referencing, he was literally. We all knew what you meant. You said it without saying
He
it.
said
So for me,
he
yeah.
said afterward, he goes, and I'm quoting. This is no direct quote, but it's very close. He says, "I think I might understand how he could have perceived it that way."
Oh,
What,
no,
man?
that's called gaslighting.
We all know what was happening when you said that, Sean Payton. So just like we do with our
Exactly.
predictions here on Inspired Sports, you gotta own it.
Exactly. If you're gonna say something, say it with your chest
That's right.
because,
Sit up straight
yeah, I mean,
and say it.
exactly. That's exactly what I mean because otherwise you're gonna get caught up on Inspired Sports podcast as don't be that
That's
guy.
right. That's right. Our trademark segment. And speaking of having something to say and sitting up straight and saying it, it is now time for the very best part of this podcast, which is how we close every podcast here at Inspired Sports, which is a Bible devotion. Tonight, sharing the Bible devotion is my good friend, and he has something great for you, Scott Jakeway.
Thank you so much, Alex. I am very excited to share this as a football coach, as someone that has played sports all throughout my life, growing up in different aspects. On school teams and travel teams. There's one thing, no matter what sport you play, there's one aspect that every good player is going to recognize, and that is to be good, you have to be able to grind. The grind that goes into being a productive, top, high quality player at any level is real. And so tonight, my devotion, the devotion I've titled is "The Grind is Part of Growth." And the scripture I want to read to begin it all off, or to start it all off, is Hebrews 12:11, and it says this: "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." So my thing is this: is in as a football podcast, it's as a coach, like I said, as someone that has watched a lot of football over the many years, is that every football player knows this, that it's a grind. It's early mornings, it's late nights, it's film sessions, it's running drills when your legs feel like jelly. It's something that no one likes in the moment. No one likes the grind. But every coach will tell you that that's where real growth happens. That's where a mediocre player can elevate to the next level. It's not under the lights. It's not during the post-game interview. It's in the unseen is what I wrote down. The in unseen moments when no one's watching. That's when the greatest elevation is built. That's when someone like a Kobe Bryant, not to intermingle sports, but someone that is considered to be one of the greats. I heard a quote that said another player walked into the arena thinking that they were going to get an edge on, knowing that they were about to play Kobe Bryant, and they looked at and Kobe Bryant had already been there for 2 hours, and that's when they realized that he was just built different. And in life, we have to realize that the grind in life as a Christian, as our spiritual walk is being walked out, it's a grind. And that is exactly what Hebrews 12:11 is talking about. Discipline does not feel good while you're in it, but it's shaping you for something greater. So, in the moment when you're running those drills and when you're listening to the coach give feedback, and when it doesn't feel like the discipline of getting in there every day, even when no one's around, that is when greatness is built. The first point I wrote down in this devotion is the grind is a training ground, not a punishment. Sometimes in life we make mistakes, or I should say we mistake discipline or difficulty as punishment. But God's not punishing us, is what we have to realize. He's preparing us. Just like a coach doesn't make you run sprints because he hates you, he does it because he knows it builds endurance. God allows seasons of grind, if you will, in our lives because he's training us for what's ahead. James 1, 2, and 2 through 4 says this: Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. The word produce that's what the grind is. It's the grind at work, producing something inside of you. It's not just to check something off to say, well, I did my work for the day. No, that is where like you really shift from one level to the next. Is That's where greatness in our lives, in our spiritual walk, is created. It means there's a purpose, not just pain. God's training you for patience, humility, leadership, and strength, qualities that you'll need when other tests come. So when you're putting in that work, when you're grinding in practice, when you're grinding at reading your Bible every day, hey, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. or I'm going to, before I sit down and do anything else, I'm going to read my Bible when no one else is looking. I'm going to spend time in prayer even when I'm not in the church building. I'm going to serve every Sunday, even when I don't feel like it, even when I wish I could just sleep in and skip a Sunday. That's when we really see the grind produce perseverance in our faith. But the second point is this: growth requires resistance. You can't build muscle when we're talking about in the weight room, or when you're training in the physical, in the natural. You can't build muscle without resistance. You can't become faster without some sort of tension that's building your muscles. The weight room, yes, can be painful. Many times, if you go to the gym on a regular basis, which I don't necessarily do all the time, but when I do, man, I'm walking away. I'm waking up the next day. I'm going, I am sore. But guess what? It's when I do that I remember as a player when I would go through practices and I would be sore every single morning the next day, and I'm like, "Man, is this even worth it?" And then I would go to the game and all of a sudden I'm exploding, and I'm running faster, I'm jumping higher, and I'm scoring points, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, maybe the grind, maybe the practice, maybe when no one was looking, maybe it really was worth it." Romans 5:3-4 says this: We rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance and character into hope. And we have to realize spiritually, it's no different. God allows resistance to build your faith muscles. When life pushes back, when things don't seem to be going your way, when you're forced to make decisions that you didn't think you were going to have to make, we have to persevere, understanding that it's spiritual conditioning for where God is taking us. In other words, to grind or no grind is no growth. If you're not going to be willing to put in the practice time, the effort, the prayer time, the Bible reading, then there's really no opportunity for your spiritual man to grow deeper, to grow stronger. The pressure you feel today may be the very thing producing the strength you'll need for tomorrow. And the third point I wrote down is this: the grind tests your commitment. When practice gets tough, when your body is sore, when you've lost a few games, that's when you find out, are you really committed? It's easy to be committed when things are going smooth. Life is great. The job is awesome. The marriage is running great. The kids are listening. The bank account looks good. The everyday the day-to-day decisions seem to be just rolling smoothly. It's easy to be committed when those things are happening. But man, when opposition in your life hits, when things aren't as smooth as you thought they would be, when the job is a little rocky, when the bank account might be coming up a little short, when you have to make tough decisions in life, that's really when you sit down and go, man, am I really committed to what God has called me to? Everyone loves their job when the job is smooth, but man, when you get a new boss, or things are difficult, you realize, man, I don't want to wake up today. It's Monday morning. I'd rather just sleep in. That's when you have to ask yourself, God, am I committed to what you have called me to? That's the ultimate example of realizing that is the grind creating a commitment. Jesus shows us in the Garden of Gethsemane. In Matthew 26, he's facing the cross. He's facing what he knows to be the toughest decision coming up. And he prays this: Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not my will, but your will. And as Christians, I think we have to have that same position. We might be going through stuff. We might be going through hard times. Alex, I'm sure you can relate, but man, when life is hitting hard, it is easy to be like, God, I can't do this any longer. And I can recall specific times in my life where I am sitting in my prayer closet and I'm going, God, if there's anywhere else or any way else for me to get through this, if there's anything that you can do to just remove this from me, please let it happen. But the second part of Jesus's prayer to God is when he says, "Yet not my will, but your will be done." And I think that's the thing that we many times forget as Christians, is that, God, please take this away. It's hurting. It's too much. I can't bear it. But the second half of that prayer, we have to, as Christians, also pray and say, but you know what, God? If not my will, but let your will be done. The ultimate example of enduring the grind is for a greater purpose. Jesus didn't quit when it got painful. He pushed through because he saw that the harvest was on the other side, which is our salvation as Christians. He knew that there was a greater purpose for the grind that he had to go through. If he endured that for us, we can endure that in small seasons of grind for him. As Christians, when it gets hard, when everyone it would be so nice to just wake up and go on the boat, or to sleep in and watch football and not go to church. Or man, I really don't want to I feel like I don't want to pray or go witness to my lost coworkers. But that's when we have to realize that the grind has created us for those exact purposes. Are we committed when everyone else is not putting in the hard work? Are we really committed as Christians to continue to still put in that hard work? And the fourth point, and the last point, and I end with this, is that we have to realize that the harvest of our grind, the harvest of our hard work, is on the horizon. It's coming. Hebrews 12:11 promises us at the second half of that scripture a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by discipline. That means when you're going through it now, the hard practices, the personal struggles, the long waits when you feel like the answer from God should happen right away, when that health report came back and you're like, man, God, I'm a good Christian. Why am I dealing with this health struggle? Why am I dealing with this? Why am I facing this adversity? I'm the good guy. I'm the one that's putting in the hard work. But we have to realize that the hard work is creating perseverance, and that perseverance is creating a commitment, so that way we can see the harvest on the other side. Galatians 6:9 puts it like this: let us not become weary in doing good. For the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So, as Christians, it's important for us to not tap out in the middle of the grind. Don't let exhaustion talk you out of the breakthrough that's waiting for you. God doesn't waste a workout, a trial, a test, a grind, if you will. Every spiritual rep, every time that you wake up and you're like, God, I am going to war in the spirit. I'm making my spirit man stronger today. Understand that that is how, when real tests and struggles and battles happen, that's how you're going to persevere and not get defeated on the battlefield. That's how you're not going to walk away from your faith. That's how you're not going to give up when adversity strikes, is because the grind matters. So please understand that the grind has a purpose, and it's important as Christians to never forget that in the middle of it, it may be hard. In the middle of it, we may want to give up, but on the other side of the grind is a harvest waiting for you, and just keep pushing.
Scott, that's an incredible reminder. Thank you. I mean, I think we all have times in our life and moments and seasons where it's just like, like you said, I just can't do this anymore. And then we
Yeah.
have the opportunity to remember we're not doing it alone. We can do it
Amen.
because Jesus is there with us to help us and to lead us through it to that harvest you mentioned. Man, that was incredible. I hope everyone who listened to that takes time. And you know what? That stuff is so good. If you gave it another listen over the weekend, I think you'd be blessed by it. Scotty
Hey, yeah, there you go.
Jakeway, thank you so much for sharing our devotion today.
Yeah.
And we hope all of our listeners join us again next week here on Inspired Sports, your place for clean sports talk with real inspiration.